Welcome into No Punt Intended, presented by Club Fantasy. I am your host, Joe Zolo, finally back after a couple weeks. 23 straight days of working will sadly not allow you to do anything fantasy football related, but we're back, and wow, am I not excited to talk about three absolutely awful teams. From what I have heard in the pre-show, the first six teams we talked about, their offenses are terrible. Our guest we have on today, Miss Linda at Lindelians, said, wow, you guys gave me two of the shittiest offenses in the NFL. And yes, we did, Linda, especially for you. I had to choose my sleeper, and wow, is it a sleeper of all time? If you watched the show 3 years ago, you might remember this dude on the Kansas City Chiefs, and he caught one touchdown in Week 10, and I told you. This is going to be a good show, though. Falcons, Broncos, Bears. We're going to break everything down right now. Welcome into No Punt Intended, presented by Club Fantasy. I am your host, Joe Zolo. Joining me, as always, Joshua Hudson, Ryan Weiss. Gents, how's the last 2 weeks been without me? Please say.
I don't know. I was without Ryan one of those weeks. So
I was gonna say between pre-records, I don't think I've done a show with you guys in 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Point, so I don't even know how to do this shit anymore. So
wow. Well, bringing in someone who is like semi-voiceless. The one and only Miss Lindelians, fresh off a electric performance at an Oklahoma State-Arkansas baseball game. How are you, Linda?
Man, listen, my voice may be weak today, but I guarantee you I will be loud. So it's not a problem. I'll deal with it. That's a problem for like tomorrow, me.
Exactly.
Tonight I'll be fine.
So I heard more alcohol helps a sore throat.
I'm pretty pro like a good strong margarita will kill a cold like that. So I mean, it seems like the science is there.
Pro margarita. Okay, fantastic. I like that.
Trust the science.
Right. Let's see here. There's no real intro for me today. We're just talking about three. You know, I'm gonna preface this, say three fantastic teams. I'm gonna get everybody excited. We're talking about the Falcons, right? The fourth place in the NFC South Falcons, the potential first place winners of the AFC West, Denver Broncos, and the by de facto third place team in the NFC North because they play the Detroit Lions, Chicago Bears. So we're looking at basically two last place teams and one potentially good team. Ryan?
I say probably the last place teams. The Falcons are my worst team in the NFL next year. I think they have the first pick of the draft. But I do want to back up on something here.
Jeez.
For that 6-day period where Tom Brady was retired, Matt Ryan was still a Falcon, and Foye Oluokun had not signed with the Jaguars yet. We joked that the Falcons might be the favorites of the NFC South. And how quickly has that changed? So,
realistically, though, just real quick, if Oluokun and Matt Ryan were still on the team and Brady was retired, even after this draft, they still might have been the favorites.
That's what I'm saying. Like, nobody made significant progress. You don't even know who the quarterback is for New Orleans yet. That defense is probably as bad as Atlanta's. Obviously it would have been who did they get to replace Brady? Because if they got Mariota, which is something we talked about, then are they not in a similar situation to Atlanta right now with significantly more talent? And then Carolina is still Sam Darnold led, so that's a problem.
Yep. Well, let's hop into the formerly first place Atlanta Falcons, now last place Atlanta Falcons. 7-10 last year. Why does that feel like they had way less wins than 7 wins?
Yeah, kudos to Matt Ryan.
Yeah, that does not feel 7-10 did not feel like the right record for them. Same head coach, same offensive coordinator. Nothing really changed there in the grand scheme of things for the coaching staff. I'm looking at players with the most fantasy upside. Josh, you have Tyler Algier. Okay. It would just seem like there were too many vowels at the end of his name for it to just be Algier. But Tyler Algier,
but it ends in an R, and you were trying to make it end in not an R.
Yeah, you were throwing in.
No one asked.
Like
no one asked. No one asked.
All right. Sorry. Sorry.
Tyler Algier, who is second on the depth chart currently as a running back, third.
I'd say probably third. They do have Damian Williams behind Cordero Patterson. But, I mean, look, Damien Williams has had over 100 rushing attempts once in his entire career. Don't really hold much weight to that. So
yeah.
Ryan, most fantasy upside, you have Drake London. The biggest trap, Josh, you have Cordero Patterson. Ryan, you say no trap in terms of ADP on this team, and that Patterson will be just fine. You don't trust Algier much, unlike the lovely Josh does.
I say we get to start off with fights already.
Yeah, we can start off with fights as Linda tries to reconnect here. I'll start on the Tyler Algier because I did hear this name come up a decent amount, especially after the draft, because Atlanta didn't really go and get anybody in free agency. We said Damien Williams is Damien Williams. He's not a workhorse. Yeah. So Damien Williams is probably a good compliment. Tyler Algier, I believe, was 4th round draft capital, which is
5th, actually.
5th. Okay, so that knocks it down to day 3, which even further into day 3.
History's against them at that point. So
history's against him, but there is literally there's competition.
No real competition, exactly.
So, Josh, you like the upside. Ryan, you just don't trust him that much. Josh, why do you like him? Ryan, why do you don't? I'll start with the positives.
I mean, I like him just for the touchdown upside. I mean, just the last 2 years at BYU, he scored, I believe, 30-plus touchdowns. He had like 23 last year, 13 the year before that, his junior year. And, he's a bigger back. So, I mean, he's not Derrick Henry big, which we know Arthur Smith has used plenty in Tennessee. But I think it's somebody that, they can grind the clock out and hope to try to play good defense. We know this defense is bad, but they're trying to get better. But if you can grind the clock, you can keep a bad defense off the field. So, for as great as Patterson was, because he scored a lot of touchdowns, he did well in the receiving game, he still had less than 4 yards per carry last year. So, they need somebody that can grind out the clock a little bit and keep the chains moving. And I think Algier can be that guy. We mentioned Damien Williams. He's somebody that can catch some passes. Great. They have that in Cordero Patterson. So I'm not really thrilled with the idea that Damien Williams is going to be some like savior when it comes to, this running game. Algier is going to get opportunity. And right now his draft price, it's so low that there's just nowhere to go but up.
Ryan, the negatives?
So, I mean, you bring up touchdown scoring. I just don't see a lot of opportunity to score touchdowns on this team. We say Cordero Patterson scored a lot, and he scored, I think, 9 total, 3 receiving, 6 rushing. I don't see them taking the ball out of Patterson's hands in the red zone very often because he's the more electric player. And Algier, technically, while the same weight, is 2 inches taller than Mike Davis. So he's smaller than even Mike Davis was, and Davis only scored 3 touchdowns last year. So I just don't see the touchdown upside, and he's not someone you can draft, and Josh isn't saying to draft him, but he's not someone you can draft because Damian Williams is going to at least start the year in that 1B role, and Algier's going to have to take it from him, either talent or injury, and Algier probably has it on both of them. But Patterson doesn't worry me at all, mainly because it's the inverse of last year, but in a very valuable way. Last year, for most of the season, Cordero Patterson was a wide receiver who was playing running back and getting carries. That doesn't really help you. This year, he's going to be a running back in fantasy who is going to be lining up at wide receiver for probably more than half of his snaps, because what we're going to talk about here in a second is how bad the Atlanta wide receivers are. Patterson is likely to end up, maybe Josh and me were talking about this before the show, Patterson may be the slot wide receiver on this team, and there is value there to where I think we could see his targets go up. And just based on the study I did last year from leading up to the 2020 season, a target is worth like 2.37 what a carry is worth. So I don't care if he loses carries. I really don't even care if he loses red zone touches. If he's going to be essentially playing wide receiver from the running back position, I'm completely fine with Patterson. I think his ADP is running back 29 right now. I think RB2 running back 24 is probably his floor. So you're still getting him at a discount.
Any thoughts on Algier, Linda?
many thoughts on the Falcons as a whole, and we're gonna get there. But like, I like some Algier and rookie drafts for Dynasty. Sure, he was going super late, but I'm not like super into anybody on the Falcons.
Even that changed though. Like his ADP and rookie draft started getting like high third round, and I even seen I think go in the second round in some rookie drafts. And it's like, this is a day 3 pick for the Atlanta Falcons. There's not the rookie upside you're hoping for there. So,
I mean, it's the same thing with Dameon Pierce, right? It's about opportunity. Like Pierce is going so high with the Texans because there's not really anybody else in front of him. And I mean, Patterson's going to be 33 this year. How many running backs past 30 really are effective in the NFL? And Ryan, I understand your point. I understand that he doesn't have a lot of tread on the tires, but again, he wasn't even a great running back last year. And I feel like people really are overlooking that aspect of it. So if he's going to see over 100 touches, he needs to have 70 plus targets and be an effective receiving back for this team to really hold that type of fantasy value.
That's fair.
Well, Linda, since you're so excited about the Falcons, who's the one player on this team you have to leave your draft with?
See, because you said like must have. You're like, this is a guy that you have to leave your draft with, and there is not one on the Falcons offense for me. I get the appeal of Kyle Pitts. I understand how exciting he is. But when you're the only option on the team and you're going at what he's probably tight end 3 now. It's just, I know underdog ADP, he's going in round 3, and that's just too soon for me. I mean, he's going before a guy like Justin Herbert. He's going before wide receivers like DK Metcalf. I'm just not going to do that for a tight. I can't pull that trigger on the only option on that offense that early. So there's not a guy on the Falcons that I feel the need to leave a draft with.
Is there one guy you're avoiding heavily, or is it just the whole team? Are we boycotting the entire city of Atlanta, or?
I mean, my notes say verbatim, you said player you're most avoiding, and I wrote the Falcons. Cordell Patterson, Drake London, Marcus Mariota. I think, that's mostly the offense. I'm just not, none of that like super entices me. Of course, there are instances where a guy falls low enough, you're going to take that gamble. But as a whole, I am fine leaving my drafts with 0 the Falcons. And that's going to lead to your Younghoe Koo question. Do not do it. I know that he is a fan favorite and people love him, and I get it. But I said the same thing last season. He is not on a very good team. They don't play a whole lot of offense, so you're going to be let down, I think, by that pick. Just because I understand that it's fun and you can like name your team after him and stuff. I get it, but I would be avoiding that. They also start the season with like the Saints and then the Rams. So you're talking about one game maybe against a average defense, maybe subpar defense, and then facing the Rams. So you're immediately dropping him if you're drafting him. So just don't do it.
Linda, have you done any like preliminary kicker rankings at all yet?
No, I'm actually just working on getting a database completely filled out. Okay. Last offseason we went back to like 2014, but I'm trying to do it from like 2000 on and get kind of I'm just kind of playing with data right now. So it's really hard to judge. It's kind of like defense, like until you see it all put together and how that offense works. And with so many new coaches this year, yes, I have a feeling the first few weeks are going to be tough.
So I don't put nearly the work into it that you do, but I don't just like rank kickers willy-nilly. I actually go in and look at what they've done the last 2 years. And I actually base my scoring off of a more like Yahoo standard scoring where everything below 40 yards is worth 3 points, 40 to 50 is worth 4, and everything over 50 is worth 5. And I kind of guesstimate what they're going to do. And Koo statted out as my kicker 16. So I completely agree with you. He's a hard avoid for me this year. I just didn't know if you had done anything with that yet. So
Anthony in the chat says Kyle Pitts finishes outside of the top 8, tight ends in per game again. So I didn't realize.
Yeah, and keep in mind, he did finish his tight end 11 last year in points per game, even though he did finish overall as tight end 6 in PPR. So
weird.
Be interesting. I mean, quarterback play is a little iffy. I will say Wednesday, one of our newest writers, Austin Amendolia, for our Falcons preview, just literally wrote an entire article on Kyle Pitts, and there's a lot of really good information there, especially when it comes to historical comps.
Yeah,
Pitts being the second rookie wide receiver ever to top 1,000 yards. I understand the quarterback situation isn't great, but look, when you're a rookie and you go over 1,000 yards, there's a lot to look forward to. I'm not saying that he's going to do it again, but I also don't think he's only going to score one touchdown again.
I have a fun stat for pro Kyle Pitts. Let me go find my stat here.
Okay.
In the one significant start of 2020, and it wasn't even a start, he came in relief, Marcus Mariota for the Las Vegas Raiders threw to Darren Waller 12 times. Waller caught the ball 9 times for 150 yards and a touchdown. If that's the tight end usage we're going to see from Marcus Mariota to Kyle Pitts, that's the tight end one by a large margin.
Yeah, I mean, and they treat Kyle Pitts like a wide receiver, so I don't think it's out of the realm.
Well, very similar to how Waller was used in 2020.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
I think something to add to that too. Delaney Walker was pretty relevant when Mariota was a Titan.
Yeah.
So
and Arthur Smith was there during that stretch.
Not with
he did have Mariota in 2018 and 2019 when he was there. 2018, I believe he was the tight ends coach, and then became the offensive coordinator there in 2019 and 2020.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't think Delaney Walker was still there though. He might have been. It might have been the tail end of last year.
That was the Jonnu Smith years.
Yeah,
and I use that as a loose term because were they ever the Jonnu Smith years?
We don't want to talk about that. Okay,
8 touchdowns one year. So.
Biggest sleeper. Desmond Ridder, kind of. I mean, you look at this team and tell me who the sleeper is. Maybe Zacchaeus. Maybe. I'm not willing to put my eggs on that. I'm betting that Ridder plays the second half of the season, so there's your sleeper.
If Patterson doesn't take the slot, Josh thinks it'll be Zacchaeus. And I do think the slot wide receiver may have some value here in a Marcus Mariota offense where he hasn't been right since that thumb injury or hand injury or whatever it was, where he has no feeling in his throwing hand. So,
yeah, and Zacchaeus also an absolute speedster. So running in from the slot that could help. But then,
and keep in mind they kept him instead of Russell Gage. So I mean that tells you how much the Falcons like him, because Zacchaeus was a restricted free agent.
I mean, I think Russell Gage costs a little more money than Zacchaeus.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm not going to tell you that Zacchaeus is worlds better than Russell Gage, but I'm not going to tell you Gage is anywhere above even to Zacchaeus. It's Russell Gage we're talking about here. It's not great. So my IDP stash, and as much of a joke as it was during the NFL draft, it is now 100% legit. Troy Anderson is a legit IDP stash. A legit one. No Foyaluakun. There is Rashaan Evans is ahead of him. He's 35 and can only run stuff. Troy Anderson, I firmly believe, will start at least 12 games this year. And with the division he's in, Kamara, Fournette, McCaffrey.
Lots of running.
That's a lot of running last time I checked. And also, check down Sam Darnold. Winston likes to throw it deep, but I mean, if we're running Michael Thomas slants and Alvin Kamara screen passes, he's going to have a lot of action. Also, we all saw Leonard Fournette in his McDonald's body that he showed up to for training camp. Have we all seen that picture?
Yeah.
Every year with this guy.
It's the opposite of the A.J. Dillon pictures.
I think my favorite caption was Lasagna Lenny. Not going to lie. I think that was a good one.
Lasagna Lenny.
Linda is still working through technical difficulties, but I do want to give her proper shout out, and a shout out to Kelly for the show Kelly does with, I think it's Coach's Pod. And we lost Linda again, but Kelly said, go listen to the episode she did with Linda where she explains her database. So I love anything like this with kickers. There's so much data you can dive into, and it sounds like Linda does that, and it's an episode worth taking your time.
Boom. And we'll transition into the Broncos.
Let's. Oh, wait, no, we do have to finish with the other team.
Yeah, so I don't.
All of this feels wrong. So
it feels terribly wrong. So
but
I think
we got to do what we got to do.
We'll transition into the Broncos here. 7-10, new coach, new offensive coordinator, new quarterback, new owner. I mean, a lot of new there for the Denver Broncos.
Largest selling American sports team, right?
Probably.
Yeah. What was it?
4.5 billion.
Yeah, almost double. Actually, more than double what Tepper paid for the Panthers a few years back.
They just outbid me. I did 4.4.
Could you imagine if you see that valuation of the Broncos? Jerry Jones could sell the Cowboys for $15 billion if the Broncos just went for 4.5.
Yeah,
like easy. Jerry could do that. All right, let's see. I think she's back. We're about to talk Broncos. We don't want to do it without you. So let's see. I hear the big breathe in. That's good.
I say, is that a Broncos breathe in or an internet frustrated bring in?
Boy, howdy. Are we going to talk about the Broncos? We can do it.
Let's do it.
I'm ready.
We can do it. Player with the most fantasy upside. Josh, you have Courtland Sutton. Ryan, you have Melvin Gordon. Wow, you guys are just really knocking the Javonta Williams shares, and then Josh, obviously, I mean, you're knocking the Jerry Jeudy shares of Ryan, and then Ryan, you have Albert O as the biggest trap. I will obviously just start with the receivers here because I don't think anybody is thinking that Melvin Gordon is stealing the job back from Javonta Williams. Nope. So we can just leave that where it is.
I do just want to throw out Melvin Gordon's RB39 ADP is far too low. Top 20 running back last year. You're
at that point you draft him
exactly. So that's why he is my
round?
upside guy, because we're just letting him fall entirely too far. And I'm seeing it on the Mock Draft Monday shows. He's a forgotten man until we hit these like double-digit rounds, and people are like, "Oh shit, Melvin Gordon's still a thing." And I'm as big a Javonta Williams guy as just about anybody in the industry right now. But even I had to take a step back because they were 50-50 split, and Williams has come out and said, expect a similar split this year. So you can give him more passing targets, but we really need to temper expectations for Javonta Williams and, my God, raise expectations for Melvin Gordon.
Here's my favorite Melvin Gordon stat that I found when I was kind of researching today. So he's played 7 years in the league. His rookie year, 0 touchdowns. It was like the biggest anomaly ever.
Yeah, it was a running joke.
Coming from Wisconsin, where he just absolutely lit it up. In the 6 years since then, he has only one season where he has not combined for at least 10 touchdowns rushing and receiving. And in that year, he scored 9. So, this guy is going to have a role. He is very good at finding the end zone. Javonta Williams last year was okay at finding the end zone. So when I was going through and doing this, I was like, you know what? Javonta right now is at RB8. If he's not scoring 10 plus touchdowns, that feels like a trap.
Yeah.
Because, he did out target Gordon last year, but it wasn't by a huge amount. And a lot of that was because both of those guys played 16 and 17 games respectively. The running back position, you don't see that very often. So I really would not expect that to duplicate this year. But again, if Gordon comes out and scores 9 plus touchdowns, Javonta Williams as a top 10 running back could be a hard miss for a lot of people.
Okay, I don't give a shit about the running backs. Can we talk about the receivers now, please?
Let's do it.
Linda, I'm gonna kick to you because I already know Josh and Ryan's thoughts. Are you pro Sutton or pro Jeudy?
I'm pro Courtland Sutton. We haven't seen Jerry Jeudy do anything that's enough for me to get on that, but we've seen Courtland Sutton do it. I'm sorry, Ryan.
Continue, Linda.
3 against 1.
I just think Courtland Sutton is more of that alpha kind of wide receiver, and I hate that term. I'm like anti-alpha verbiage, but I do think that that's what Courtland Sutton offers, and we just haven't seen it from Jerry Jeudy. So I'm pro Courtland Sutton.
I'm just going off of Russell Wilson former receiver comparison, and I'm just putting Sutton in the DK role and Jeudy in the Lockett role. And Even when it was the DK Lockett debate, I was always on the Lockett side. So it should surprise nobody that I'm on the Jerry Jeudy side of this one. So
this is
I picked
the
up on that
fun
when you
comparison
left.
part. Yeah, right. This is when I'm going through and looking at these comparisons. I mean, obviously they're running more of a Green Bay system. Green Bay's been.
I was gonna say that's actually terrifying when we get into that here in a second. So
because when you look, obviously Green Bay, all they had was Davante Adams. They didn't have anybody else. It was him and a bunch of scrubs at wide receiver. So Davante Adams had 160 plus targets every freaking year. Like he's averaging close to 10 targets
10
a game.
Exactly.
So, you look at that and it's like, okay, cool. Maybe one of these guys can be that. But then you look at Wilson, who has no problem distributing the ball and not just locking into one guy. And last year, DK was kind of that alpha, so to speak. He had 129 targets. He had 129 the year before, but Lockett out-targeted him by 3. I think a lot of that disparity last year was more with Russell getting hurt and Geno taking over, because Geno, as the backup, he's just going to focus on the number one read. That, for him, was DK. So with Sutton coming in, I still think he's going to get Jeudy involved, but Judy's a slot receiver, and that's what he had with Russell and Lockett and all that. So, there's still an opportunity there. I don't know if Judy's going to come back fully healthy. Maybe the knee starts acting up. He's already dealing with injuries now in, the early part of OTAs, tweaked a groin injury. So maybe this is a situation where he's just going to be kind of in and out because of, groin tweaks, hamstring tweaks, etc.
And I will say
and then you're going to see maybe, KJ Hamler take some of those slot targets, but when you're looking at kind of the outside guys, it's Sutton and it's Tim Patrick. And those are the guys that got the extensions last year. I know people tend to, follow in that narrative. Oh, follow the money, blah, blah, blah. The biggest questions for me, not necessarily about the target distribution, who's going to score touchdowns. Cortland Sutton has never scored more than 6 touchdowns. Jerry Jeudy's not a touchdown guy. At least he has not been in the NFL. Yeah. Russell has no problem throwing touchdowns. The last couple of years, Lockett and DK's had 22 touchdowns the last couple of years. So you're in for a career high in touchdowns for Cortland Sutton on the horizon. And that to me is and it could very well be Jerry Jeudy as well. But again, it's just one of those, are they going to step up and make that? I would bet on Sutton because of his height and his size in the red zone. And plus, he gets down the field. He has a career average over 14 yards per reception. That's not Judy's game.
Anybody add in anything else before I dive into an interesting Green Bay stat that I just looked up in the last 30 seconds?
I want to give Linda a chance to talk since it's her team, but I do have something else as well.
What? You cut out on me.
Oh, I just said I wanted to give you a chance to talk about your team if you wanted to.
Oh, it turns out that all my notes just match Ryan's notes. I'm out on Albert O. I'm in on Melvin Gordon. Brandon McManus has got a good start to the season at least. Yeah. So if that offense can mesh well, I'm into drafting him in the last round of your draft, where you should be taking a kicker, by the way. I'm not
from the kicker goddess herself, people.
Your kicker. I'm like, in the last round. I'm not a psychopath. Jesus. Well,
see, I wonder the improved quarterback play. I think McManus is money from long range, but I wonder how many long range he's going to have to kick with Russell Wilson. So that's going to be an interesting situation. Joe, I'm interested to hear your stat because mine might step on yours a little bit. Tim Patrick is the guy I'm actually worried about in this offense, other than Alberto, because we've seen the Green Bay offense funnel to 1 wide receiver. We've seen Russell Wilson funnel to 2 wide receivers. We haven't seen any of this going to 3 wideouts like we've seen in Denver over the last 3 seasons. So if anyone's the odd man out, it's going to be the other outside wide receiver, Tim Patrick.
Well, I mean, and stop and think about this too with Patrick. The last few years with the target distribution, 2 years ago, Sutton missed every year, every game outside of the first one, because
he only hit 79 targets.
And he hit 79 targets as the wide receiver too, because Jeudy was the target hog, but he couldn't catch a beach ball.
But still, only 79. So this is actually in my notes too, Josh. It's funny.
Because they had Noah Fant, because Fant was the big target guy for them. They obviously don't have Fant this year. They have Alberto, but this is an offense that doesn't utilize high target volume to tight ends. They utilize them more strategically as like a 3rd, 4th passing option. to utilize holes in the defense. So I think there could potentially be some touchdown upside for Alberto, but I think that's being presumptuous at that point. Like, could it happen? Sure, absolutely, if Russell wants to find him. But even then, he used tight ends more strategically in Seattle as well. Like, even with Jimmy Graham, it was, all right, he's just going to be a red zone guy for me, and that's it.
Yeah, and that was 5 years ago.
They didn't have a DK Metcalf.
Exactly.
So the interesting stat that I found from the Green Bay Packers is I look, Nathaniel Hackett started as their offensive coordinator in 2019. Okay? I don't think this was a Nathaniel Hackett issue. I think this was an Aaron Rodgers issue. Because in 2018, Davante Adams had 1,386 receiving yards. Jimmy Graham was the next leading receiver at 636. Every year since 2018, the year before Hackett came there, Davante Adams has had over double the receiving yards as the next closest guy on the Green Bay Packers, which is relevant in the fact that, we all talk about no one matters except Davante Adams. Well, you're freaking right, because it was Marquez Valdez-Scantling, old Randall Cobb, Alan Lazard. No one matters. Of course no one matters. If you go back to 2014, Jordy Nelson and Randall Cobb, 1,300 and 1,500 yards. Prime of their lives, both really good. There's a situation where, we've seen Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf be both very good. So there's a situation where this could very much happen. Hackett's never had the opportunity to throw to a second guy because, they've sucked. So now he has realistically, 3 really good options to throw to, including Tim Patrick. I think Jerry Jeudy just gets hurt. So I think Tim Patrick slides into that role.
And that's fair. So I was just going through Seattle with Russell Wilson. You have to go all the way back to 2017 to find the third wide receiver crossing the 500-yard mark. So that's my concern. Fair. But you're right with the injuries. If it ends up being Jerry Jeudy hurt again, then obviously it's more of a spot play with Patrick. He's a great best ball player.
And obviously Sutton has gotten hurt as well. I think Jeudy is more prone to injury because he seems to just play a little more reckless than Sutton, and he's the one crossing the middle, and he's also built like a toothpick, so that doesn't help him. Nope. I think that's why, and I still don't understand how no one has signed Tim Patrick to be a wide receiver too. Blows my mind. Dude is incredibly talented. If he slides into Judy's role, he's going to be money.
I have to give a preview of an upcoming show because you mentioned someone built like a toothpick. Did we all see the picture of Hutch with Devonta Smith, and Hutch is like bigger than Devonta Smith? That's like a mild concern.
Devonta Smith built like the scroll bar over here in the chat function.
I immediately looked at their calves and was like, what the fuck, man? This dude is a wide receiver 1. Like, what is going on here?
Well, he's the wide receiver 2 now. He's got A.J. Brown.
There you go. So it's okay to be smaller than our 16-year-old friend.
Linda, anything else before I slide into my IDP for your lovely, beloved Denver Broncos?
Nah, it's just super cool that we got a quarterback now. Feels good. that was enjoyable for me. I like that.
Confirmed Linda would body Devonta Smith. No questions asked.
Obviously. I'll give Linda a little something too. I have Denver winning the division. And I honestly don't think it's a competition personally. Yeah, no, I don't see this competition. I see Denver at 12-5. I see the Chargers at 11-6, but Denver wins both of the games against the Chargers, so it doesn't matter.
So one game isn't a competition.
But
I get you.
It's they've run away with those games against the Chargers. Yeah. I think the Raiders are 10-7. And I think the Chiefs are either 9-8 or 10-7, and they lose the tiebreaker to the Raiders. I think the Chiefs finish last in that division.
God, if the Chiefs don't get double-digit wins, I will not shut the fuck up about it. Just everybody get ready.
Linda, everyone told me I was crazy for choosing the Chiefs under 12.5 wins last year. There's no way. There's no way.
So my real question, though, is, does that entire division make the playoffs?
No.
No?
No, the top 3 make the playoffs. It's impossible. Actually, it is. Oh, shit, it is possible. It is possible now. Yeah. Sorry. I was thinking old playoff. Like, there's no way. That's not possible.
Yeah.
No, they don't. No, I think it's probably Bengals Ravens from the other division. I mean,
that's the division because Indy should run away.
Bills Patriots would be the only other two, but I think outside of that, no, I don't think Kansas City makes it because I think Kansas City loses to one of those teams that would be that wild card tiebreaker for them. Baltimore, New England. I don't think they play New England this year, but Baltimore, New England, one of those teams that are going to be that 7th wild card spot. I think they would lose head to head to one of those teams. I truly, and this is, I don't believe this is a hot take. They're the worst team in that division by far. Their offense did not get better; it got worse, and their defense didn't get better. It stayed stagnant.
I don't think the Raiders are better than the Chiefs yet.
But did the Raiders get better?
Oh, certainly.
The Chiefs did not get better; they got worse. They're the only team in that division that got worse, but by a substantial margin too.
I don't even want to. I'll catch enough shit when we do this show. I think Juju is better than we're giving him credit for. We'll see.
He doesn't fit.
I think we can agree that I'm like in agreement that Juju is probably better. I know you said we're not going to get into it on the show, but I'm the guest, so you have to.
Oh, you're allowed to say whatever you want. I just don't want to hear Joe's mouth because it's Juju. So
Juju sucks. So
I think Juju's better than he gets credit for, but
sure.
I think the premise of like, well, look at who they brought in. They'll just equal Tyreek Hill is a insane idea. To be like, oh, well, you just add Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who's going from 2-time MVP to Patrick Mahomes, who's going to unlock him. My ass.
Yeah,
why?
There's no unlock. Yes, I completely agree.
But I just think when you suggest that the Chiefs may have gotten worse and that Patrick Mahomes may not be a top 2 fantasy QB, that's the first thing people say. They're like, well, they brought in a bunch of talent. Yeah, but they didn't bring in anybody that equals to, no matter how you add them together, Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
And so
and Travis Kelce's
there's like a middle part where we can meet, but we can't do that on fantasy Twitter.
Hold on though. Carrington Hobbs, one of our loyal listeners, since you're allowed to talk about it, he wants to know who is the wide receiver 1 for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Travis Kelce.
Yeah, that's the right answer. That's correct. The right answer. Correct. I do think MVS is going to be a solid flex option for a lot of people in certain weeks with matchups because
he'll get his 67 targets this year, and that's about it.
Well, I'm saying, like in certain weeks with good matchups, he still runs a 4.3. The dude is still fast. His
McCole Hardman is also fast. I don't like that's not.
But Marquez Valdez-Scantling has actually shown games where he can play. Mecole Hardman is terrible. So that's two separate things. I am in no way defending Marquez Valdez-Scantling here. I am just saying
it feels like you're defending.
If you put Mecole Hardman and Marquez Valdez-Scantling in the same conversation, that's disheartening because Mecole Hardman is terrible. He is legitimately awful.
Okay,
legitimately
but here's
awful.
My thing. The way Andy Reid runs offenses, he has two receiving options. Now that'll be a tight end and a running back. It'll be a running back and a wide receiver. At the last several years, it's of course been Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. So I think somebody has to. They're going to get that volume because that's the way that Andy Reid runs offenses. That's the way he's run the Kansas City Chiefs offense since he's been there. It's the way he ran Eagles offenses. Like that's just what he does. So somebody has to step up. In that case, I'm taking Juju. His ADP is fine. You're taking a swing at a guy that could potentially see volume behind Travis Kelce, in my opinion.
I get that. Are you thinking that Patrick Mahomes is going to run a dink and dunk offense? Because I'm sorry, I don't see Juju running 50 yards down the field and making people miss.
I just want to go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm going to let Ryan talk first. You got it.
I had to go in and do a little research on this real quick. So, Joe, just flat out, his first 3 seasons in the league, Mecole Hardman to you, garbage, right?
He's a garbage. Yeah, I'm not saying MVS
Every one of those seasons, from a fantasy standpoint, has been better than what Marquez Valdez-Scantling has done in the NFL.
And what did we say about the Green Bay offense the last 4 seasons?
But he's been playing with a great quarterback.
Yeah, who has honed in on one guy.
Not unlocked him. No, there's no way you can compare the two and be like MVS is definitely better than Mecole Hardman.
I think they're both really fast wide receivers that are great to deter your defense. Yeah. But when you actually want to throw the ball to them, I'm out.
And one of them has played with this quarterback in this offense for 3 straight years. He's the one.
Like, I'm not like pro Mecole Hardman.
I am.
MVS will have a better season than Mecole Hardman on the same team this year.
I am at cost. I'm not saying pay up for him. I'm not saying a breakout, but his ADP is not that high. He's like free in fantasy drafts basically at this point.
I was drafting Byron Pringle before like last year. I was what's
the kid's name that went to the Raiders? DeMarcus, whatever, Robinson. I was on his side of that argument just to be facetious. So.
Mecole Hardman's bad. Marquez Valdes-Scantling will have a better season on the same team than Mecole Hardman will this year. Guaranteed.
Not even close.
Guaranteed. It's not even a question. IDP stash for the Broncos is Alex Singleton. He'll be a top 15 linebacker. So there you go. You want a guy that's going to be dirt fucking cheap? Mecole Hardman's been dirt cheap these last 3 seasons and he can't do jack shit. Alex Singleton can actually play football.
So according to Fantasy Pros right now, Sky Moore is 140, Marquez Valdes-Scantling is 147, Mecole Hardman is 162 off the board. So he is literally
wide receiver 162?
No. Overall 162.
Total. I was like, that seems a little aggressive.
So I mean, even in a 15-team league, in a 12-team league, you draft 180 players. That puts Mecole Hardman in the 13th round of fantasy.
Still wouldn't draft him. Still in a million years would not draft that guy. In a million, I would not draft that guy. You know I'm not joking. You know for a fact I'm not joking. I would take Byron Pringle on the fucking Bears.
God. Okay, so just for 1 fucking second, think about this.
Yeah,
I'm drafted Mecole Hardman to be the next Tyreek Hill. He is now allowed to be the next Tyreek Hill, and you can get him in the 13th round. Imagine I told you, and I'm not saying it's going to happen, but imagine I told you could get the next Tyreek fucking Hill with Patrick Mahomes in the 13th round of your draft. That's a league winner. Take him every time, people.
Sir. Why did they bring in Marquez Valdes-Scantling, the exact same human being as Mecole Hardman, if they thought Mecole Hardman could be the next?
Somebody's got
all I needed was for you to say that they're the same human being. That's all I needed. You're right.
Someone needs to be the next Mecole Hardman.
They paid somebody $1 million and the exact same person they already have.
Us.
Take him in the 13th round.
MVS will have a better season than Mecole Hardman. Book it. Pay up the extra 12 fucking fantasy spots in the draft for MVS. Jeez. God, he won't be a 13th round pick, but he'll be a 12th round pick. Will you just please draft MVS if he's late? God. Chicago Bears 6-11. It still feels like too many wins for that team last year. How are these teams have 6 and 7 wins? This is atrocious football. Player with the most fantasy upside? Obviously, it's Justin Fields. Is there another person on this team that has fantasy upside? Montgomery is
going to tell us.
Montgomery's fine. Darnell Mooney is fine. You're not there's no Darnell Mooney is he's being drafted as the wide receiver 20. He's going to be a wide receiver 5. No.
And this is another team that is going to move to a Green Bay-esque system. But then again, Joe, as you brought up, that may have been an Aaron Rodgers problem, not a Green Bay problem. So
yeah, and again, when there was, also they only have one legit receiver on this team.
This feels way more Green Bay-y.
Yeah, Green Bay, because again, go back to 2014 when it was Cobb and Jordy Nelson in their prime. 1,300, 1,500 yards respectively. Rodgers had no problem throwing to 2 really good receivers. So now it's Darnell Mooney in the fucking field on this team. So biggest trap, Cole Kmet. Go ahead, Linda. Go ahead. What do you got?
Okay.
Go ahead. What do you got?
Let's talk about it. So last season, my dude called 93 targets. That's with Allen Robinson and Jimmy Graham still on the team. Allen Robinson and Jimmy Graham, both gone. You're talking about the second receiving option on that offense. I don't care what tight end you're looking at. What I want in a consistent week to week, I'm going to start this guy and I'm not going to think about it. He may get some touchdowns, but he is damn sure going to get some targets because he's the only other fucking option to Darnell Mooney. I will pick that guy at tight end 17, by the way, after Albert O, which is a whole nother conversation. I realized, like, I saw Dawson Knox ahead of him, and I was like, I'm not cool with that. But then, like, on top of that, Albert O is going before a guy that is going to be the second option on that offense. I don't think there's an argument for Velus Jones Jr. I don't think there's an argument for do they even have any other wide receivers? I'm not worried about him getting targets. Volume reigns supreme. They got 22 red zone targets between the two tight ends last season. Now, again, Jimmy Graham is gone, so he is going to get work in the red zone. I am not worried about touchdowns. They are not a sticky stat. We talk all the time. Hell, last year, everybody faded Adam Thielen because he got too many touchdowns, and now you guys are worried about it for a reverse reason. It's just not, that's not what's important to me. And when I'm drafting a tight end, put your hand down. I'll call on you in a minute. When I'm drafting a tight
Calm down,
end,
boy.
I am looking for volume and consistency so I don't have to think about it. Now, if he sucks after 5 weeks, I'll drop him and I'll stream for the rest of the season. But there is no reason not to take him when he's going tight end 17 and he's going to get 100 targets. I don't think that there is a universe in which he doesn't see 100 targets. I would put money on it if I had any, but I'm broke. So we're going to have to bet a shot or something.
Oh,
So
I will
you
absolutely.
mentioned-
I'll put 2 shots against your one that he doesn't.
Well, I'm not going to do one. I'm not a pussy. If we're going to do 2 shots, we're going to do
Whoa,
I thought we
whoa,
were
whoa.
buying shots, not
Whoa.
taking shots. Like, I'll buy
Whoa.
you 2. You only have to buy
Whoa.
me 1. I'm
This-
giving you better odds here.
This
Yeah,
this
I
is
don't
a
know,
family-friendly show. We just throw around the P word willy-nilly on this show.
No, Linda,
My
I'm saying
bad.
you're buying
Don't
each
be a
other shots,
vagina.
not
Thank
bearing
you.
each other shots. So the next time, so not this upcoming Fantasy Expo, but the next Fantasy Expo when Cole Kmet finishes with sub 80 targets and is the tight end
sub
20.
80. Who are they throwing to?
Oh,
So-
we're going to
so-
get into that. I have my
sub
stats
80 is
too.
interesting.
I'm
Okay,
writing it down.
So-
Don't-
Go-
Real
go
quick,
ahead,
Linda,
Josh.
I just want to bring up this one stat before you guys get going more. Linda, you brought up the red zone. What percentage of targets did Cole Kmet catch last year inside the 20?
I don't care about
What percentage did he catch in the end
How
zone?
many times? Oh my God! How many times have you told me drops don't fucking matter when we talk about Deontay Johnson?
Oh no! I'm not even.
Deontay
getting
Johnson has
I'm not even
170
talking about
targets.
drops. Right now, I'm not even talking about drops. I'm not even talking about drops.
You're talking
He
about
caught-
completion percentage. I don't care. Volume
So,
reigns
all
supreme.
right. So look inside the 10. He only had 3 targets inside the 10. 3.
How many
That's
of those
it.
were?
Didn't
How
catch a
many
single
inside
one
the
of them.
10 did Jimmy Graham have?
Well,
He
Jimmy Graham had 3 touchdowns.
inside the red zone last year and had
Yeah.
4
I know.
catches. That's it.
Okay.
4 catches
Do
and
you-
3
do you-
touchdowns.
Do you also know that Jesper Horsted, an undrafted free agent, had 2 touchdowns to Cole Kmet's 0 last year? He also, Jesper Horsted
then
also
you
had like
draft-
10
you
targets.
Draft Horsted, and I'll draft Cole Kmet, and we'll see who fucking feels better about their tight
So,
end.
so here's something I would like to add to this conversation because Ryan, you talked about this potentially being a Green Bay-esque offense, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's go back to 2018 when Jimmy Graham was a Green Bay Packer. 89 targets, 55 catches, 636 yards, 2 touchdowns. God, does that sound appealing to me at tight end? Let me tell you.
Who's the other wide receiver? Who's the second target on that team? I don't care about. I'm talking about the second
Jimmy
target
Graham
on
was
that
the
team.
second target. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
It's
Adams
it's
and Graham.
Darnell Mooney and Cole Kmet. I'm sorry.
You think
It's Darnell Mooney
Mooney's gonna
and
get
Cole
Devontae
Kmet.
Adams.
It's
target?
Devontae Adams and Jimmy freaking Graham
Well, they're
down
not
below.
going to throw as much either, but
They're not going to throw as
That's-
much.
That's
So
fair. I'll give you that. They aren't going to throw as much. I still
I-
think Cole Kmet gets 100 targets. And I wrote
You-
your note down.
you could have
Okay.
doubled Jimmy Graham's targets and receptions and yardage. You could have multiplied his touchdowns by 6, and they all still would have been lower than Devontae Adams. So if we're talking about Justin Fields honing in on a single receiver, it's
gonna
Mooney
be
all
Cole
day, and
Kmet.
it's not even close. Cole Kmet can't catch. Go ahead, Ryan.
I want to be proven wrong with the system, but
I don't.
I'm leaning on the exact same thing you did with Green Bay. Did I even put it in my notes? I don't think I put it in my notes, but I somewhat remember it. Over the last 2 seasons, the entire Green Bay tight end room has not crossed 100 targets, and no single player has crossed 60 targets from tight ends from Green Bay. There is a legitimate concern with the volume going to the tight end in this offense. Kmet could be the option number 2. However, I do not hate Velus Jones the way everybody else does.
Well, that's because you're old.
Exactly. I support old men. That's what I do.
You're old. That's rude.
I just wish at 25 years old, people were already calling me an old man and past my prime. Like, what the fuck, man? But anyway, I don't hate Velus Jones. And then Byron Pringle in the slot is intriguing. Linda, he's your guy. So.
He is okay. If you look up my name on Twitter with the word Pringles, it's like several tweets about the bitch at the gas station that one time picked up my jar and shook them and then handed them back to me. And I was like,
that sounds like some real Oklahoma
and then like one
shit.
or two where I'm like, he's better than Mecole Hardman.
That sounds like some real Oklahoma shit down there.
Dude, it pissed. I was like, what? How do you? She was like, are these good? Did you just shake my can of Pringles? Not anymore. They're not. Now
they're not talking to you, bitch.
Okay, here's the crazy part about this offense. The Bears have like all receivers that for like at least one or two games in their career have been fantasy relevant. It's very strange. Equanimous St. Brown had like one game where he caught a touchdown and had some decent yardage. Byron Pringle, electric. My cat is now joining the conversation. Tajay Sharp, remember that one game we had in Tennessee in like 2016? Yeah. Remember that guy? Dante Pettis, his first year in the league. Nasimba Webster, I'm pretty sure caught a touchdown at one point for a game. David Moore, Jesus, formerly known as for the Seattle Seahawks. Everyone else sucks, but I mean, that's a pretty decent receiver room if you ask me.
For 1 week each.
For 1 week. Yeah. They're all gonna split it up. They're all gonna have 1 week each, which is gonna take away from Cole Kmet's target share.
Now here's my largest concern with Kmet.
Okay, but can I see your cat?
Oh, Joe, you showed that.
She jumped up. Oh, also, we're not talking about that. Ryan Griffin, former tight end standout for the New York Jets, is now the backup. And James O'Shaq Hennessy is the third string for the Bears.
Relax.
And then
Ryzen
John. That's this dude's name. Ryzen John. Oh, hold on. Think about it. Think how unfortunate of a name that is. Ryzen John. And then you continue with your point.
Last couple of points I want to throw out that worry me about Kmet, not just being facetious and we're the show that hates Cole Kmet, but we are. 6.6 yards, 6.6 yards per target. That was pointed out by one of our writers, Joel Worth, in his Chicago Bears article. I believe it was Joel. And then last year, to be a tight end one, to be a top 12 guy, he would have needed to score 7 touchdowns on those 93 targets. He only had 3 games above 10 fantasy points on 93 targets. The volume was there and he didn't perform. And we're not talking a small leap. We're talking a 7 touchdown leap to be fantasy relevant. It's an issue.
I'll let Linda, if she wants to rebuttal, because I do have a couple points that I want to bring up in regards to
No, you guys can keep shitting on Cole Kmet. I'm going to draft him at tight end 17. And like I said,
she's giving up.
I will say I'm
not giving up, but I didn't know I was arguing all fucking 3 of you. I will made say, more notes.
Oh yeah, this show is very anti Cole Kmet. We had to fire writers this week for drafting him.
I washed my Kmet shirt to wear on the show, but it's long sleeve and it's hot as fuck in my computer room.
I wore Women of Fantasy in honor of you being on the show. So.
I wore the polo that I just arrived in 13 minutes before the show from work.
There you go.
So,
13 minutes is plenty of time to change after.
In Linda's defense, if you believe in him, the ADP is 0 fucking risk. So you're not reaching for Cole Kmet. So
I'll just two things. I love my completely irrelevant points, but it could be relevant at some point. David Montgomery, obviously a very he's active in the receiving game. Khalil Herbert, They brought in Darrynton Evans, who the only freaking thing he can do is catch the football.
And he hasn't even really done that in the NFL.
Yeah,
I know, and I'm just saying, but they used him in Tennessee as the receiving back, obviously because a little quicker, more agile than Derrick Henry is, at least out in the open space in terms of running routes. I'm not saying he's nowhere near Derrick Henry, but he was used as a receiving back. I don't think he gets into that role, but to the point where if they need another guy out there, and look at these freaking receivers that they have, you put Evans in the slot, I mean, that might be You run 2 running backs in a wing back formation. It might be Montgomery and Evans, Herbert Montgomery. Like, again, that's just more people to take away these targets from Kmet. Not to mention that their offensive line is dog shit and Fields won't have any time to throw the football. So, Josh.
So I'll point out really quick that when I did my stat projections, I do have Kmet over 100 target. I mean, it's literally literally 101, but it's 100. It's still over 100. Now, here's the thing, though. I only have Justin Fields with 66 rushing attempts. Could very easily be like 89, because the way that I look at Justin Fields as a quarterback, it's more similar to, and I really hate using this name because I'm shedding it like a positive light on him, but I look at him more like a Deshaun Watson type on the field, where he uses his legs more so not out of like first go, like, oh, my read's not there, all right, I'm done. Like, he wants to sit in the pocket and throw the football, but he's athletic enough that if his second, third read isn't there, he can take off. And that's something that we saw from Fields as the season, like as he started to get more starts. It was, oh, my line is collapsing. Okay, I can't be afraid to run the football, because the first few games that he was starting, he wanted to like prove the people wrong that he wasn't that, traditional mobile quarterback that when the first read is there, he takes off. Like, he wants to progress and go through his reads, and he has that ability to be an effective quarterback. Now,
how many carries did you say you had him at?
66.
I have him at 66. So if he starts all 17 games, that's a little over 4 rushes a game. I think that he could very easily have 10 rushing attempts a game. He could be Jalen Hurts. He could be Lamar Jackson. I don't think he wants to be that. Therefore, I don't think he will be that.
Well,
so
he should.
And I have him statted out at 561 pass attempts. That I think is very high. But when you look at the trajectory of this style of offense, like with Green Bay, they're going to throw the football. And I have Darnell Mooney with an extremely large target share. And there's nobody else really to throw the football to outside of Kmet. But here lies the issue for me with Kmet. He doesn't get down the field enough. He doesn't stretch the field to have that 11, 12 yards per reception, right? His yards per route run last year, 1.23. When you look at the last 2 years among top 12 scorers at the tight end position, at both overall points and points per game, the only tight ends that had less than 1.4 yards per route run that finished in the top 12 in scoring all had 4 or more touchdowns. So if Cole Kmet is not scoring touchdowns, and this is kind of the part of your point about touchdowns don't matter, Linda, that I'm getting at here. They do matter in the long run.
Touchdowns don't matter.
They're not sticky.
She said chase.
Fair enough. They're not sticky. I get that. You want to chase the targets at every position. Running back, wide receiver, tight end, you want to chase those targets. But touchdowns still matter. I don't know that Cole Kmet is going to not only catch touchdowns, but I don't know that Justin Fields is going to throw a ton of touchdowns, just because there's not that many viable weapons on this team. If they're scoring touchdowns, it's going to be on the ground. And that's going to be Montgomery. That's going to be Herbert. That's going to be Fields. So therein lies my biggest issue with Cole Kmet. What's up?
I said behind that terrible offensive line. Hell yeah.
Khalil Herbert averaged 4.5 yards a carry last year behind that shoddy offensive line.
I just don't think you can be that allergic to the end zone. Like, something's got to give, in my opinion.
Julio Jones.
And lose it.
But I mean, look at offenses that have mobile quarterbacks when they get into the end zone. Look, Miles Sanders, a perfect example. Jalen Hurts said, "You know what? I can do this myself." He did it himself. And you're going to find that type of situation with Justin Fields when things break down, because that offensive line is so bad. So those few opportunities that they actually get in the red zone, if Cole Kmet isn't catching those balls, which last year he wasn't, he's not going to see those types of opportunities, because he's not going for 20, 30, 40-yard touchdowns. So, like, I gave him 3 touchdowns, and I feel like that's even generous on my part.
Well, if he improves on that, I'm trying to use the right word so Ryan doesn't correct me. If he improves on that by 1 touchdown, then that means he's got a chance at top 12, like you just said. So
I think I think we're burying the lead here. Nathan Peterman could very well start for this. So this could all be null and void. And the wild card.
You're not wrong there.
Nathan Peterman could come in and wow us.
The wild card.
I do find it interesting, Josh, that you have Fields at fewer attempts this year. Do you project him to start all 17 games?
Yeah, I gave him all 17. The only when I do my projections, the only time that I actually give quarterbacks less than the 17 is when like in Atlanta with like a Mariota and a Ritter, like Carolina with like Sam Darnold and Matt Corral, like those types of situations where I know that starter probably isn't going to make it all the way through. Like I don't want to project injury at the
We're just very different because I have him at 103 attempts. I looked at the games he started. Obviously, you're very correct about his early starts because he was 3 attempts for each of those games. But as he got more comfortable or uncomfortable, he rushed a lot more. And so I have him at 103 at roughly 6 per game starting all 17 games.
Yeah, and it'll probably get to a point where I end up taking some of those pass attempts, moving them over towards his rushing attempts. Because, again, like that many passes for a second-year quarterback that has that type of athletic ability, that is very high in my opinion. And if that's the case, then Kmet, I think, probably will see less than 100 targets at that point.
I'm sorry. Just look at this throwing motion and tell me this guy's not taking a couple games away from Justin Fields.
Did you just get us booted off? Okay.
No. I mean, look at that. Under pressure, look at how calm and collected this face is. Under pressure. And I'm sorry, is Justin Fields comparable to Brett Favre? Why Micah Hyde calls Buffalo Bills rookie quarterback Nathan Peterman Nate Favre? I'm sorry. I don't see Justin Fields having that comparison.
Micah Hyde should either A, make sure that article is taken off of the internet, or B, be kicked out of the NFL.
Well, you think about it. Was he wrong? Because Brett Favre did throw a lot of interceptions in his career.
Was he wrong? Shut the fuck up.
I mean, when you think about it, though, when you think about it, just think about it real quick, right?
I've thought about it. Yes, he was wrong.
Okay. Well, I think Nathan Peterman starts 2 games this year.
Interesting.
I'm praying he starts 2 games this year. Just
2 games.
I mean, to be fair, are we sure that Peterman is the QB2 over Trevor Siemian? I'm just
listen.
saying.
Yeah. Have you? Yes. Yeah.
No.
Strictly.
They're both shit quarterbacks. Let's be honest here.
Whoa.
Listen to me. Linda, who would you rather watch on a Sunday when your team's on a bye week?
Trevor
Siemian or Nathan Peterman? Don't
Trevor
you fucking lie to
Siemian
me. Don't you lie to me.
Until I die, bitch. I wear Birkenstocks and socks because I saw Trevor Siemian wear Birkenstocks with his socks. Okay.
Don't you lie to me.
Yeah.
I'm
not lying to you. I definitely wear socks with my Birkenstocks.
No, not that. No, I don't care about that. I know people do that. I am talking about
Trevor Siemian. I own a Trevor Siemian jersey. It's right there.
I would 100 times out of 100 rather watch Nathan Peterman make a fool of himself on national television instead of Trevor Siemian.
Steve Atwater said that we should probably call Trevor Siemian Trevor Elway or whatever the fuck that Micah Hyde article said.
For a really good quarterback, he can't figure out his own fucking position. John Elway. Okay. My sleeper's Byron Pringle. Guys, there's no one to stash for IDPs on this team, so I said Al Quaiden Muhammad.
Sure.
I don't know. He's
isn't it Kadeen?
Okay. Yeah, maybe. I have no idea. I don't know. It sounds better than what I said. It sounds better than what I said. Dude, it's Roquan Smith is the defense. It's Roquan Smith is the linebacker 1, and then it's the defense. Like, that's it.
Yeah, I feel like I phrased that wrong with stash because I feel like you're looking more for like underappreciated.
Roquan Smith. Don't draft anybody else but Roquan. If you haven't noticed the theme, I've picked a linebacker for every fucking position. Draft linebackers.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, what a show. What a way to end it.
Linda, I'm glad you suggested moving the Bears to the end. This was a good way to end.
Yeah, you can't open up, especially because my internet was all fucked up and you guys are fine.
This would have been the worst show ever. We would have just redone this entire show next week if you couldn't have been here for this. So.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that you didn't realize we were all anti.
Yeah. We are like
Well, last time I was on, I only argued with Joe about it. So
there you go.
I just assumed.
Well, it was more fun to just kind of sit back and watch.
I got like kind of cornered there, and it's fine. I'm not gonna like tell everybody about it and be like, "Don't go on that show," but I might.
we're like Democrats at a Republican convention, very against Cole Kmet. Very against. That was the best metaphor I could think of in my head.
I imagine, I don't know if we have a streak, but I imagine we're close to a streak, but I imagine we're batting about 800 on shows shitting on Cole Kmet.
Oh, easy. Oh my God. We are.
It's every episode. I did it last week and neither of you two were even there. I made sure to mention it.
Hall of Fame level shitting on Cole Kmet.
Yeah. Noted.
It's gonna be such a good season. It's gonna be such a good season.
Absolutely fucking noted.
Yeah. It's gonna be great.
Oh, I'm just waiting. Linda's pulling up the receipts at the end of the season of Cole Kmet.
I write like when people talk shit. I write notes during the show. I'm like, I'll revisit this shit, but then I look at it like in 3 months, and I'm like, what does that mean?
I do the same thing. I'll have weird shorthand. I'm like, what the fuck does this even mean?
Yeah, initials I don't understand. I'm like, I got no idea. And it's like underlined several times. Just really drive it home.
There was one note on my desk from one of our start sit shows that said research Christmas music. I was like, what the fuck was this about?
Oh, good God.
Well, on that note, Linda, thanks for coming on.
This was amazing.
Thanks for having
Thank you so much.
Guys.
It's always great when you're on.
Oh, Carrington.
No,
you're not. No.
Listen.
No.
Don't listen to them.
Hold on. Elixir said we got a 200 Snapchat streak for Cole Kmet.
Yes!
Ryan, I know this is over your head and you might not know what that means. But a 200 Snapchat streak for your old man brain means that you've Snapchatted somebody 200 times in a row every single day.
So is that how streaks work? Like when you do something consecutively?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
I would like to say that now that I know that you guys are doing this perpetually hating on Cole Kmet, I'm just going to infiltrate every show.
Yes.
From now until the end of the
I want a random Cole Kmet stat.
You shit, draft Cole Kmet, and then leave.
Yeah.
I just hit up every guest, like, send me the link.
Oh my God, how fucking funny was that?
Send me the link.
All you gotta do is text me. I'll gladly do it.
That'd be funny.
The guest screen shares Linda into
We love that.
Me.
Yeah.
I'm just here to say,
Draft Cole Kmet.
We love that. Does anybody else change the emojis for their Snapchat streaks? Anybody? Like you can change
I don't use Snapchat.
Okay, now you've gone way too far.
I'm talking back in high school. Me and my buddy had a 567-day streak or something like that. And I changed the emoji, so he was obviously like my top friend because I Snapchat him every day. And then I Snapchat him obviously a lot. So the emoji for best friend was this, and then the emoji for streak was this. So it looked like it was doing this on Snapchat.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, I was...
in high school, I was deciding who was going to be on my top 8 MySpace friends. So
that was when I was in college.
That I remember.
Which is like a lot more pressure than your Snapchat streak.
And you had to figure out which song was going to play when people came to you.
Oh, okay. So real quick before we end the show, because I know they're going to want to hear this. So I had a MySpace, was not supposed to have one. My mom was like, you don't need one. Like, we live in a tiny, like, there's no reason for you to have one.
Yes.
So I had
Your
one.
Space is this town and this apartment.
And she found it. And when she found it, the song on my MySpace was Tenacious D, Fuck Her Gently. Fuck Her Gently. And my mom was like,
that's amazing.
I was in like 9th grade. I was like, it's funny. It's a funny song. Anyway, pretty proud moment for her, I'm sure.
God bless Jack Black. Love it.
Yes.
Wow.
That's a fantastic story.
That's how you end the show right there. I love it.
If MySpace had stuck around, people my age would have been way better at coding because you had to like literally get into the system to change your top 8 to a top 12 and add music and
and you would like I had like drop bars and shit. Like
exactly.
And then like years later, I was like, oh, it's fucking coding. Why didn't I commit any of that?
Exactly.
Like,
and now we're like, now
it.
we're on Twitter bitching, comparing, comparing Mecole Hardman's ADP and Arby's.
Kmet will fall so Mecole can live, Ryan.
Yes.
Wait, people were comparing Mecole Hardman to Arby's? Because I mean, I'd take Mecole Hardman in that instance, but I mean that's like choosing day old shit over week old shit. Like,
what the fuck is wrong with Arby's?
I was gonna say I can't quit Mecole Hardman or curly fries, so I'm.
Oh, those curly fries are bomb, baby.
I love curly fries, but in North Dakota, there is a line that wraps around the Arby's constantly, and I don't understand.
You guys are committed.
How fitting that Arby's is the Chick-fil-A of North Dakota.
Of fucking North Dakota, what the hell? We just got a Chick-fil-A in December, so people are like, oh, Arby's is the next best thing. No, it's not. Like, there's 3 cars in the fucking McDonald's line, and there's a fucking dinosaur-length tail around the Arby's. Like, what?
It's big Montana.
Beef and cheddar slap, bro. Have you ever had a beef and cheddar?
Dude, I'll just go home and make a roast beef sandwich for less money.
For breakfast. I don't give a fuck. Beef and cheddar slap.
She'll draft Cole Kmet. She don't give a fuck.
I will draft Cole Kmet. I will not draft Mecole Hardman.
Shouldn't give a fuck. Okay, great. Wow. We were supposed to end this show like 10 minutes ago.
We were.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
I'll be quiet. What am I supposed to say to end this show?
We're all in charge.
Yeah. What am I supposed to say to end this show?
I wrote it all out for you, damn.
Yeah, don't worry, I'm getting there. I'll do it in my newscaster voice. Want some more Bears talk? Check out the debut episode of Dunking on Joe from our new contributor, Joe Peepee. He invited, damn it, I couldn't do it with a straight face. He invited one of our contributors, Steve Lawson, to debate David Montgomery and his potential to finish as a top 12 running back.
When you watch the episode, go to our Twitter page and vote, because we want to see if Joe actually gets dunked on this week.
Stay tuned. News 9, 5:30. With a look inside in full swing. Okay, I don't really want to go through all this. We have player spotlights featuring Travis Etienne, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Brandine Cooks, Breece Hall, Kadarius Toney. Did you guys see the video of Kadarius Toney warming up on the jugs machine that was similar to Daniel? That was hilarious.
Look, they had to replicate Daniel Jones. It's the only way they could do it. I love it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I also love that teams are posting. Someone posted a video of Aaron Rodgers throwing a deep ball to A.J. Dillon on the right-hand side. What they neglected to realize in that video is that A.J. Dillon had to come to a full stop because Aaron Rodgers underthrew him. I don't get why reporters think that they're doing these great things.
Yeah.
It was a terrible fucking ball. It would have been intercepted. DJ Moore, Khalil Herbert, and Kyle Pitts. Preview of Jerry Jeudy drops from Drew Metcalf on Friday. Every Monday morning, Mock Draft Mondays, Mock It Like It's Hot. Ryan and Evan Bushman. Do we have a guest this week? Is it TBD?
No, we do have a guest. Iowa Michael from Destination Debbie.
Iowa Michael from Destination Debbie. Good old Midwestern.
Yep. And in favor of Iowa and the Midwest, we're doing a tight end premium draft. So
okay.
Don't forget to take Cole Kmet.
Corn-fed boys. He might actually get drafted. Not by me.
Send me the mock draft link. I'm getting it. I'll just take Cole Kmet in the first round. I don't give a fuck.
All right. So I'll DM you personally.
So tight end premium, is it the less touchdowns you catch, the more points you get?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Okay. Fantastic. Dude, Cole Kmet. 101. That's not even a tight end one. Point. Yeah. 101. I mean, is it also the more targets you get, the more points you get?
You start at 100 points and they subtract 6 every time you score a touchdown.
I love that.
This is really fun for me. I can't wait to come back.
I mean, this is what now, like
this is not a great women of fantasy promo where 3 guys just bitch at a woman. Hold on.
We're not bitching at Linda. We're bitching at the person Linda is supporting. So is it bitching at Linda?
Feels like the same, Joe.
Yeah.
Now I'm just getting gaslit live.
I have one feeling, and it's kind of hurt for Linda right now.
I feel no remorse. I feel zero remorse.
I am not surprised. You lack empathy, Joe. Are you a Scorpio?
I am a Leo.
Just kidding. I don't know astrology well enough for that.
Okay. I feel like that's the first one. Are you a Scorpio? I don't fucking.
That's such a great.
I'm the
I don't
lion.
even know what that means.
No one knows what it means, but it's provocative.
Gets the people going.
Next
time
week,
you'd say yes. God damn it! That really landed.
Next week, Seahawks, Commanders, Minnesota Vikings, with a fresh face to MPI, contributor for IDP guys, Clinton Holmgren will join the show. Had an interview with somebody today, and he said he likes dissecting new teams' logos. And I asked him, how long did it take you to dissect the W in the Commanders logo? And he just laughed. So that was a good, fun little thing in an interview I had today with someone for the Larks. And go follow us at Bismarck Larks, please. Thank you. Go like our latest TikToks. That would be great, because I have bonus money that I would like to get, and you can be a part of that. So thank you.
Get this guy paid. He's out here eating cheeseburgers.
Yeah, I can't pay him, so help him some other way.
Please get me paid. I've worked 23 straight days. This is my first off day. Please get me paid. I would appreciate it. Linda, anything else?
I have nothing to say.
Where can they find you?
Tell everybody where they can follow you and your work. And everything
you can follow me on Twitter at Lindellians, and then basically everything I do now is with Matthew Berry's Fantasy Life newsletter. So you can find it on there. It's free to subscribe. We're giving away Scott Fishbowl invites. We're giving away a big Yeti cooler. It's just doing a lot over there this offseason. So get in now, because it's, like I said, it's free, and it's growing a lot right now. So
a lot of new additions over there too. Love it.
You want to know what else is free? Hitting the follow button at Club Fantasy FFL. I was gonna plug the Larks, but I figured
I was like, you motherfucker.
It's also free to do it for the Larks as well. We don't charge for that either. But you can follow Club Fantasy on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Club Fantasy FFL. The URL is clubfantasyffl.com. For Josh, Linda, Ryan, myself, I'll be back next week. The 2 weeks after, I cannot say that I will be.
Or me.
I'll be back next week.
I will also
Very
be
excited.
back next week.
Nice.
Yeah, I'll send you the link, Linda.
Yeah. Join Linda on Monday, where she drafts Cole Kmet at the 101 in the tight end premium mock draft for Mock It Like It's Hot with Ryan and Evan. Always remember, defense wins championships, offense wins fantasy football. We will see you